In the peaceful village of Umudike, nestled deep within the heart of Abaland, life followed a slow, predictable rhythm. The sun rose each morning over the green palm groves, casting a golden hue across the red earth roads. The sounds of birds chirping and children playing echoed in the distance, blending harmoniously with the rustling of palm fronds in the gentle breeze. But amidst this tranquility, one young man's ambition was about to turn the village upside down. Emeka, a tall, wiry young man with sharp features and dark eyes, arrived at the Okafor family's compound one scorching afternoon. He was hired as a houseboy, a position many in the village thought beneath their dignity. But Emeka had no shame. He wore a faded shirt and threadbare trousers, his face hardened by the struggles he'd faced growing up. Yet there was something about his presence that made people take notice. Perhaps it was the way his eyes seemed to survey everything around him, calculating the value of every opportunity. Chukwudi Okafor, the young son of Namdi Okafor, the wealthiest man in the village, was only 15 at the time, but he had a life that others envied. His father's palm oil business had brought them wealth beyond measure, and their compound stood as a symbol of success and power. Chukwudi, however, was far from content. Despite the grandeur of his life, he felt like something was missing. And then came Emeka. One evening, as the golden sun began to set behind the thick palm groves, Chukwudi found himself seeking something to break the monotony of his privileged existence. He had spent countless hours roaming the compound, yet nothing seemed to capture his attention. On a whim, he sneaked into his father's study, a place he was never allowed to enter. There, on the massive mahogany desk, he saw it, a pack of imported cigarettes his father kept for important guests. Curiosity overpowered his better judgment, and before he knew it, Chukwudi had one of the cigarettes in his hand. He tiptoed out to the back of the house, his heart racing with excitement as he lit the cigarette. The smoke burned his throat, making him cough violently. It was bitter and harsh, but he didn't care. He was finally doing something rebellious, something that felt alive. "Ah, Chukwudi," Emeka's voice sliced through the stillness of the evening. Chukwudi's heart jumped into his throat. He spun around to see Emeka standing behind him, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling mixture of amusement and knowing. "If I tell your father about this, eh? What do you think will happen?" Chukwudi's hands trembled as he stubbed out the cigarette in the dirt. "Please, Emeka," he stammered. "Don't tell him. I'll do anything you want." Emeka's lips curled into a sly grin. "Anything? Well, we'll start small." The next day, Emeka's demands began to escalate. It started with something simple: food. Emeka approached Chukwudi in the kitchen, his eyes glinting with mischief. "I'm hungry," he declared loudly. "But I want the chicken stew your father said is only for guests." The cook, an older woman with a stern expression, shook her head firmly. "That stew is for the chief's meeting tonight. I can't give it to you." But Emeka wasn't easily deterred. He turned to Chukwudi, his voice dripping with insinuation. "Chukwudi, will you tell her to give me the stew? Or should I tell your father what I saw yesterday?" Chukwudi felt the weight of his secret bearing down on him. He hesitated, then muttered reluctantly, "Auntie, just give it to him." The cook shot him a disapproving look but complied. Emeka's grin widened as he devoured the meal, while Chukwudi's stomach churned with guilt. Emeka's hold over Chukwudi only grew stronger with time. A week later, Emeka cornered him again, this time in the quiet hallway of the compound. "I need money," he demanded. 2,000 naira should do. "I don't have that kind of money," Chukwudi protested, his heart pounding in his chest. "But your father does," Emeka shot back, his tone confident. "His room isn't locked during the day. You'll get it for me, or I'll tell him everything." That afternoon, while the house was quiet and everyone else was busy, he sneaked into his father's bedroom. His hands shook as he rifled through the drawer, finally pulling out the money. The guilt hit him like a physical blow, but Emeka's voice echoed in his mind, urging him forward. When he handed the money to Emeka, the older boy's face lit up with triumph. "Good boy," he said with a grin. "See, that wasn't so hard." Chukwudi's guilt continued to eat away at him, but Emeka's demands grew bolder. One day, as the family hosted their monthly village meeting, Emeka appeared in the pantry with another request. "Your father's gold wristwatch, the one he wears to important events," Emeka demanded. "I want it." Chukwudi's heart skipped a beat. "Are you mad?" he exclaimed. "That watch is important to him. He'll notice if it's gone." Emeka's eyes narrowed, and his voice dropped to a cold whisper. "And he'll also notice if I tell him about the cigarettes, the stew, and the money you've been stealing. Your choice." Chukwudi's mind raced. His father, Nnamdi Okafor, had always been a man of honor and discipline. The thought of betraying him further tore at Chukwudi's soul. But the fear of Emeka's threat was stronger. When his father became distracted with guests, Chukwudi slipped into the room and, trembling, took the watch. The weight of it in his pocket felt like a constant reminder of his own weakness. Days went by, and Chukwudi became a shadow of his former self. The guilt and fear of being caught drained the light from his eyes. His father, ever observant, had noticed the changes in him but said nothing. Emeka's demands grew more daring, and Chukwudi felt trapped in a cycle he couldn't escape. That evening, as the weight of his wrongdoings became unbearable, Chukwudi fell to his knees before his father. Tears welled up in his eyes as he began to confess everything: the cigarettes, the stolen money, the wristwatch, and Emeka's blackmail. He feared his father's wrath, but he also longed for redemption. To his surprise, Nnamdi's face remained calm, his gaze steady. "I know," he said quietly. "I've known from the beginning. I wanted to see how long it would take for you to own up to your actions. You disappointed me, my son, but I'm proud that you finally confessed." The words hit Chukwudi like a tidal wave. His father's forgiveness and wisdom cut through the shame, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a flicker of hope. The next morning, Emeka was dismissed from the household. Nnamdi's voice was firm as he warned the young man never to return. Chukwudi, on the other hand, was assigned to hard labor in the family's palm oil fields for the remainder of the holiday season. The physical work was grueling, but it gave Chukwudi the time he needed to reflect on his actions. The lessons Chukwudi learned during that time would shape him for years to come. He learned the value of truth, integrity, and the consequences of his actions. As he labored under the hot sun, he understood that the only path to true freedom was facing the truth, no matter how difficult. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the life of Emeka and Chukwudi. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. You won't want to miss the next story in this channel. See you next time.